Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for awaiting for another edition of the Sports Pro podcast with Aaron Okotel. This edition will take you into the weekend to preview whatever will be happening in the weekend, starting from the local scene until the European scene. We shall go through all the action we expect to be into the weekend. Today, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday. We shall be back here, of course, on Monday to examine whatever happened during the weekend. Once again, I'm Aaron Okotel. Welcome back from the international break. On the African continent, we're seeing so much of the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers, where Uganda Cranes is among the 24 teams that will be at the 35th edition of the Africa Cup of Nations. Uganda will be playing their 8th AFCON edition after playing there. That was in 1962, as history says. We were there in 1968. The other edition was 1974, 1976, 1978, and of course the recent two editions of 2017 and 2019. I remember our best performing time in the AFCON was in 1978 when the Cranes finished as runners-up. That was in Ghana, Kumasi. In the final, we lost against Ghana. However, amongst the 24 teams that were confirmed to have qualified, only have two from the Sekafa region. That is Uganda and Tanzania. So we shall not be having the likes of Ethiopia. There will be no Kenya. There will be no South Sudan, neither Rwanda or Burundi. So sad there, but we need to put the energies together to wish all the best for Tanzania and Uganda, because they are among the Pamoja countries that will be hosting CHAN, the 2024 CHAN that will be next year. Some of the teams that missed out, Ghana failed to win any of their 6 matches, and their absence from the 2025 AFCON was confirmed when they were held by Angola in their last Group F fixture. It will be so sad to have a mighty team on the African continent like Ghana missing out on the continent. Being mighty because Ghana has some of experienced European players who have applied their trade, that is in Europe. Talking of these players, they have the likes of Andre Ayew and Jordan Ayew. Andre Ayew is currently even the captain, who plays in France with Le Havre. You're talking about the likes of Thomas Partey, who plays at Arsenal. We are talking about the likes of Inaki Williams, who plays for Atletico Bilbao. We are talking about the Abdul Fattah, who plays in that is Leicester City. A very wide and experienced team in Ghana missing out in the AFCON. So sad. They are very sad. I'm really saddened because those are some of the teams that make the tournament so interesting. Apart from Ghana, another team is Guinea, who joined Ghana as high-profile absentees from the finals that will be hosted in Morocco. Guinea also has a couple of players that ply their trade in Europe that you would hope would put up some good competition and performance in the AFCON. The likes of their captain, that is Naby Keita, who ever played, he was at Liverpool, he went to PSG, now he's playing at Werder Bremen, that is in German. Iliax Moriba, who plays in Spain, that is with Celta Vigo, that is another experienced name on the European continent. Which other player? Amadou Diawara, ever played in the Premier League, is currently playing in Belgium with his team, that is Anderlecht. The likes of the name has just gotten off my head, but Guinea is also another side that you'd really wish them to have qualified for the AFCON. But better said than done. Football is played for 90 minutes and it is played on the pitch with 11 men aside. So we just need to keep congratulating the Uganda Cranes upon their going back to the AFCON. We shall miss them for a while, but I'm sure the national team coach Paul Put still has a lot to put on the table because now that the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifications have been put in the bag, the coach can properly shift some gears as he observes the squad that he will summon for that tournament in Morocco that will be happening. That is in December of 2025. Yeah, it will switch to 2026. That will be in January. But between now and then, the Uganda Cranes will be soon called for action for the CHAN 2024. That will be a very good opportunity for the national team coach to assess the locally based players, because CHAN is an African Cup of Nations that is exclusively for players who play football, that is in their domestic leagues. The CHAN 2024 was delayed by a year and will be played, that is between 1st of February to the 28th next year, that is 2025, because it is jointly hosted by Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania in a first CAF history. That was in the Pamoja bid as we prepare to host, that is the Africa Cup of Nations in 2024. So the Uganda Cranes will be soon back in action for the CHAN competition. Away from the CHAN, there's also the FIFA World Cup qualifiers, because immediately after the CHAN finals, the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers will resume, with Uganda having an away game. Yeah, they will play an away game that is against Mozambique. Then they have like 3 home games in Nambole, that is against Guinea. Then we have Somalia at home. Then away we shall go away to Algeria, because the last time Algeria came here to Nambole and beat us. So the World Cup qualifier will also be a very good opportunity to assess the Uganda Cranes as we prepare for the AFCON. I don't know if we have any ambitions to go to the World Cup that will be hosted in the United States, Canada, and Mexico in a joint bid. But so far as things look in Group G, Algeria and Mozambique are the early leaders, and at the end of it all, they need one team that qualifies to go straight to the World Cup. Botswana, Uganda, and Guinea are currently on 6 points each. So I really don't know if the Uganda Cranes are having those ambitions to go to the World Cup, because at the end of it all, it is only the group leaders that qualify directly, because 9 African countries will qualify automatically from their respective groups. Then maybe there will be another set of qualifiers that will be played later. That will be next year in December. So there will be a lot of work to be done for the Uganda, but most of the work will be setting eyes for the Morocco Africa Cup of Nations. Let's await for that. Congratulations to the Uganda Cranes once again for qualifying for the AFCONs. Away from the international break, the Uganda Premier League resumed this week. That was on Wednesday, after a 2-week break following the just concluded international break. The league returned with the first game was Police hosting Lugazi. That was in the opening match day 9. The closely contested game ended in a barren draw, with either side failing to find the much-needed breakthrough. Lugazi are currently continuing with their resurgence, that is following a torrid start to their debut season in the Uganda Premier League. They are currently unbeaten, that is in 4 games, winning 2 and drawing the others under the managership of assistant coach Oliver Mbekeka. Then they added Stephen Bogere to help her, that is in the job for Lugazi. That draw for them may keep inspiring the team in their journey to stay in the Uganda Premier League until next season. But on the other side, the results for Police means that they have registered so far 6 draws, that is in 9 games, winning 2 and losing once. That is Police for you. The other game that was played, Kitara finally returned to winning ways after undergoing a terrible period since the start of this season. Their poor performance led to the sacking of Brian Senyondo, where Waswabosa replaced him. Brian Senyondo has currently been appointed the head coach for the under-17 national team side. Congratulations to him. But Waswabosa also started his tenure as the head coach of Kitara. That was on the sad note, because the first two fixtures he lost them. That was against URA and Solitiro Bright Stars. But now they played there. He caught the third game for Chitara. That was today, winning against UPDF. According to the results, Fred Amaku gave them an early lead in the 14th minute before Livingstone Carbon banked 2 goals. So the halftime ended 3-0, and George Senkaba scored in the second half for Kitara to win 4-0 for the first time at their newly home grounds in Butema. Vipers were supposed to be in the action tonight. I'll update you about that game, taking on URA. Vipers come into the game in good form so far with 4 victories in their last 5 matches. They last dropped points, remember, in that 1-1 draw against KCCA. The team is currently in good shape with the likes of Alan Okello, fresh from the Uganda Cranes national team, because he was one of the key players for Coach Paul Put, alongside the likes of Milton Karisa, the Unis Centamos. That is the Uganda Premier League for you. Action will continue this weekend. A big game in Kacheka for the Bamasaba, because Mbale Heroes will be traveling a long way to take on Mbarara City. Then on Saturday, Soa Club Villa will be playing Wakiso Giants in Wankurukuku. I may not be in position to update you so early about these games, but you can go on the internet and follow up the action as far as the Uganda Premier League. That is all for the Ugandan setting of football. Let's switch to Europe, because being in the international break, European action was more with the UEFA Nations League, where the group phases are currently now complete. We didn't follow it so much. Apparently, most of you haven't been following the UEFA Nations League. But some good news that happened, more so the 39-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo, who's the Portuguese captain, he continues to show up for his country. He added 5 goals to his international scoring tally over the last 3 months. In the UEFA Nations League window, he surpassed a record of 900 goal mark in his career. That is Cristiano Ronaldo for you. But now let's talk the Premier League, because we shall be in action all over the weekend. Lastly, I'm going to go through some of the big teams that will be in action. That is in the European setting. However, there's some news that came out today in the Premier League, where clubs have voted to approve some changes in the rules that are governing commercial deals. It is called the Associated Party Transaction Regulations, that currently try to bar clubs from clubs that are having commercial or sponsorship deals with companies that are linked to their own these companies that are linked to their owners. The Premier League, according to their rules, had termed it as unlawful. That is earlier this year, following some lawsuit allegations against Manchester City, because Manchester City is facing a whopping 115 cases currently that are related to commercial and financial deals. But we may not go so much into it, because now that is a business aspect of football. We shall concentrate on the playing bit of it, with games that shall be coming this weekend in the Uganda Premier League. There will be a new face this weekend with the new Manchester United boss, that is Ruben Amorim. Remember, the deal was done with the sporting the sporting manager. That was on the 1st of November. But the Portuguese club, Sporting Lisbon, did not want Amorim to come immediately to start his tenure at Manchester United. They had to wait until the international break was done before he gets moving. Remember, Rudy Van Nistelrooy has been the interim manager after the sacking of Erik ten Hag. But the club's former striker, Van Nistelrooy, departed too, because Amorim did not want him to be part of staff. So much expectations from Ruben Amorim. Some have termed him as the new special one because he was once under the tutorship that was veteran coach Jose Mourinho. Amorim will start his tenure as Manchester United coach with his first game that will be against Ipswich City in the Premier League on Sunday. We expect him to use the 4-3-3 formation that he preferred to use with Sporting Lisbon in Portugal. But the big question is whether the current players that he has will suit that system because he hasn't so much worked with these players. Most of them have been in the international break, so most of the key and starters at Manchester United have not really endured enough training sessions with the head coach. But we shall be awaiting to see if this formation will really work out for him. That is at Manchester United. Remember, the Red Devils are currently 13th on the table. A lot of expectations whether he will really succeed the post-Ferguson predecessor eras that have failed many coaches at Manchester United. They are playing Ipswich Town. Ipswich had a very good win against Tottenham. That was last weekend. And I'm sure they will give them a really belief if they had 3 draws already at home so far. So they will be a bit competitive for Manchester United, especially if United adopt that new system that I'm sure the players will not so much be familiar with. We shall be awaiting to see whatever results comes out from that game. Manchester City have also officially announced that manager Pep Guardiola has signed a 2-year contract extension with the club that will take him to over 10 years as a coach. He's currently into his 9th season at Manchester City. For several months, speculations over Guardiola's long-term future in charge of the current defending champions of the Premier League has been a riff, as his previous deal at Etihad was supposed to expire at the end of this season. But after winning unprecedented 4 successful Premier League titles, Guardiola admitted that he was closer to leaving Manchester City, that had sparked speculations that the current campaign would be his last in the Premier League. There were also speculations ever since the news confirmed that one of the sporting directors, the director of football, Aziki Bagreksten, was to step down from his post at the end of the season, with Sporting Lisbon's Hugo Viana already chosen as his successor. However, the reports emerged this week on Tuesday claiming that Guardiola had agreed to put on paper a new contract. That is a 1-year extension with an option of an additional year. Manchester City already confirmed this news that indeed Guardiola has extended his deal with 2 years at Manchester City that will see him stay at a club for 11 years because he joined Manchester City. That was in 2016 where he succeeded Manuel Pellegrini. It is understood that maybe the good relationship between Guardiola, according to his words, because he says he has had everything a manager would wish to have from a club, that is at Manchester City, with the chairman Khalodin Al Mubarak. That it is said they have a very good relationship between the two. However, Guardiola, of course, already he has a legendary status at Manchester City, having steered the club to a total of 18 trophies so far, including 6 Premier League titles in the last 7 seasons, as well as his club's first ever Champions League triumph. That was in 2023. He has masterminded City's magnificent treble-winning campaign. That was in 2022-2023 season. That is arguably the best season any Premier League club will ever have in its history. So a lot can be said about the current manager. But remember, City are currently facing a very terrible time, including the 115 charges for allegedly breaking the Premier League rules following an investigation into their financial affair. Guardiola has already lost 4 games in a row, his first time in his Premier League career. They will be at home this weekend, that is on Saturday, against Tottenham Hotspur. I believe there will be some goals to be scored in this game because Tottenham's coach, Enge Postecoglou, I believe will not change his approach because Tottenham has already beaten Manchester City this season. That was in the Carabao. And Pep Guardiola also having lost 4 games in a row. I doubt whether he would want to lose another game to make them 5. So a very interesting game for you there this weekend, Tottenham against Manchester City. Tottenham also has their own problems. I remember the news that surfaced earlier this week about their midfielder, Rodrigo Bentancur, who made a mistake with some racial abuses. Can I call them abuses against his teammate, Sun Heung-min? He made these statements during on a television appearance that is in his home country in Uruguay. So Rodrigo Bentancur is currently banned for 7 matches by the English FA. However, though Spurs have applied against the ban, saying that they accept that the player was guilty for his statements, but the severity of the punishment, they are currently trying to appeal about it. That means that the midfielder will miss the Premier League game against Manchester City. Their next game will be against Liverpool and Chelsea. They also have a quarter final. If you look at the row of their next 5 matches, they have a quarter final against Manchester United, so will not be available for that game as well according to the ban, but will be available for Tottenham's Europa League matches because they don't apply. This is an FA sanction. In that game tomorrow against Tottenham Hotspur, Rodri will make an appearance because this is the time they announced that he will be at Etihad to present his prestigious accolade of the Ballon d'Or. But of course, he's still sidelined with an ACL injury that he sustained, that he was ruled out until for the entire season. That is Rodri. The likes of Oscar Bob, who fractured his leg at the start of this season, is also one of the long-term absentees from the Manchester City squad. However, some news according to the press interview of Pep Guardiola, he confirmed that the likes of Jack Grealish, Kevin De Bruyne, John Stones, Manuel Akanji, and Phil Foden will be assessed for the game that is tomorrow. Good news for the return of John Stones and Manuel Akanji plus Ruben Diaz, because in the previous games we saw a youngster, Simpson Passe, who featured in the backline, that many thought he was a big problem for the goals that Manchester City conceded. So the return of his key defenders may also be a very good inspiration for Manchester City. Rico Lewis, Kyle Walker, who have been a little ill in the previous games because I've been following Pep Guardiola's interview. Kyle Walker has been playing with not fully fit, so maybe with that addition of the international break, his team may be at full house. That is this weekend, including Erling Haaland, who showed some good form. That was in the international break with Norway in the Nations League, where he scored some good goals. That is in the international break. A very good game to watch. For Tottenham Hotspur, I talked of Rodrigo Bentancur, who is currently on a 7-match ban. The likes of Mickey van der Ven, Richarlison, and Wilson Odegaard are all injured. They will not feature in that game. The other Premier League game, another big game, is Chelsea will be in action against Leicester. All news will be rotating around the coach Enzo Maresca, who will be back at Leicester for the first time since he left to take charge of Chelsea. That was in the summer. I actually think that his return will be quite straightforward for him and his Chelsea side. Leicester will be pretty happy with the way they have started this season, given the fact that when they replaced Enzo Maresca, Steve Cooper came in and put up some good performance, but lately the results have not been coming out well. Just like the other promoted clubs in the Premier League, Leicester has conceded so many goals this season. Partly you blame it to their backline, which gives a motivation for Chelsea to win that game this weekend, given the fact that the likes of Carl Palmer, I'm sure, will be back to full fitness. Although there are some news that came out. This guy is really so unlucky. Reece James, it is rumored that he picked up another injury that was during the international break. However, the likes of Romeo Lavia, Carl Palmer, Jordan Sancho, Luis Colwell were pictured training this week with Chelsea. That means they will all feature in that game. There could be some some worry for the players like Moisio Koesido and Enzo Fernandez, who play in South America, because that long journey from South America to come to Europe takes some very long hours, so that tiredness may influence the coach maybe to think otherwise with his starting lineup. That is Chelsea playing Leicester this weekend. It will be a very good win for Chelsea. I back that. Arsenal cannot keep on dropping points, and it will be a little worry for them if they lose this weekend game at the Emirates. That will be against Wolves. Mikel Arteta's team has failed to win any of their last 4 matches in the Premier League, and they are currently 9 points off the top spot, because Liverpool are currently leading the table. Across all competitions, according to statistics, they only have 2 victories so far that in the last 7 matches. That was a win over Shakhtar Donetsk in the Champions League and the Carabao Cup win against Preston North End. Although they are home and they have really been doing well at the Emirates Stadium, according to statistics, that is the only reason you will back them to win against Wolves. And this is a must win for Arsenal, because they are currently off pace. And Mikel Arteta, who at one time everyone didn't like him to stay at Arsenal in a few years ago, to becoming one of the greatest things that many fans thought he will be the one to bring them the glory of the Premier League once again. But however, by the current look of form, Arsenal are really off pace. But given the news of the return of the likes of Martin Odegaard with that international break, you'll be sure he will be back fit again, because many Arsenal fans think that he has been something that has been missing on their team. That is Martin Odegaard. However, some scary news that happened during the international break: Bukayo Saka and Declan Rice were pulled out of the English squad, same as Lisandro Trossard with Belgium. He didn't finish up the Nations League games because of injury. I don't know how fit they will be to feature for Arsenal this weekend. You add on the injuries that they already have. Ben White was ruled out because he had a surgery. He will be back to action next year. But there's some depth in the defensive lineup of Arsenal. The likes of Urian Timber, you'll be sure he will switch to that number 2 position. That means you'll give chance for Alexander Zinchenko to come back to the starting lineup in the left back, because Ricardo Calfieri is currently injured. He has a knee injury. That is same as Takehiro Tomiyasu, another fullback, same as Keren Tierney, a long-time absentee from the Arsenal squad. I don't know how terrible that game will be for Arsenal at the Emirates, because Nuno Espirito Santos' side, that is Wolves, will be a little stubborn to break down, because we all know that Wolves has already beaten the likes of Liverpool at home at Anfield. So I think Arsenal should find a way to win that game this weekend. And lastly, the other big game in the Premier League will be at the St. Mary's Stadium. Liverpool are currently flying under Arne Slot, and they currently sit top of the table and the Champions League table as well, having dropped points in just 2 games so far this season. They are currently 5 points clear of Manchester City, who have lost 4 games in a row, as I stated earlier, in all competitions, something that Pep Guardiola had never experienced before in his managerial career. So Liverpool could not have wished for a better start under a new coach like Arne Slot, whose side are currently 5 points at the top of the table. This game is where everyone is expecting them to easily beat a bottom side like Southampton. I expect Liverpool to score so much goals in the game that will be happening on Sunday. But one thing to worry is, as I stated, the South Americans. Liverpool has a lot of South Americans in his squad, so that fatigue and given the fact they have some upcoming games, because after Southampton, their next game will be against Manchester City in the Premier League. But however, before that, in the midweek, they have another game against Real Madrid. Given the fact that Real Madrid hasn't performed well so far in the Champions League, it will be a very tough game for Liverpool. So the coach has to balance his squad between winning that game against Southampton and putting some energies that is in the Champions League. I believe I've sampled most of the big games that will be happening in the Premier League. We can rotate around the European scene as well, because games start on today. That is in German. Bayern Munich is playing Augsburg. Bayern Munich is currently having a very good run of form so far, because you expect them. They will be having less competitions. The other team that won the trophy last season was Bayer Leverkusen, which is currently not doing so well. So Bayern Munich is taking it all this season. However, they had some mixed poor performances, more so that lose in the Champions League against Barcelona. That was 4-1, but that is not something so big for Vincent Kompany to worry about. As I said, I back them to win against Augsburg this weekend and to go on and win the trophy as well, because their immediate competitors, that is Bayer Leverkusen, are currently off form. Remember, Xabi Alonso, the coach of Bayer Leverkusen, has been one of the hot trading topics because it is rumored that he may succeed Carlo Ancelotti, that is at Real Madrid, given the fact that Real Madrid is also not doing so well in its domestic competition, given the fact they have a new force in Barcelona. So the coach himself, Xabi Alonso, his time at Bayer Leverkusen may be numbered. They have another. They also have their own game against Heidenheim. That will be tomorrow on Saturday. Rotating around Europe, in France, another unbeaten side, that is PSG, will be in action today, Friday, against Toulouse. It is nothing to worry about. That is in the Ligue 1, because PSG has always gone on and swept that title. They are currently leading the table, already 6 points ahead of Monaco. But Luis Enrique, some pressure is increasing for him because since the Qatar takeover at PSG, one thing that they have so much abundantly wanted is to win the Champions League, which they are not currently in good terms with the new system in the Champions League. So whatever they do, PSG, their energies has always been in the European competition other than the Ligue 1, that is the domestic tier. In Spain, I believe that's where we shall wind up from. Barcelona will be in action against Celta Vigo. They are currently the La Liga leaders, and their previous game before the international break, they lost 1-0 against Real Sociedad. You believe that their coach Hans Flick will need to increase the gap between them and Real Madrid, because they are currently 6 points against the second placed Madrid. But the defending champions Real Madrid already have a game in hand. But I believe Barcelona is one of the best teams so far on the European scene, where Hans Flick has built a team of very good youngsters. If you mention them, the likes of Ferran Torres, the Eric Garcias, the likes of Ronald Araujo, the likes of Marc Casedo in the midfield, the Pedri and Gavi, the Dan Olmos, mixed with the experience of Robert Lewandowski. You believe that they have put up a very good competition both in the Champions League and in the domestic setting, that is in the La Liga. But it will be a very good game for them to go on and beat Celta Vigo, that is Real Madrid for you. I believe we shall end this podcast at this. We had a very good, some little insight of what will be happening during the weekend in the Premier League. Until then, we shall meet up again on Monday. Expect something like this to preview whatever has come out of the Premier League and other games in the European scene. Amorim Hotel, if you're watching and are listening to this podcast live on YouTube, please do like and subscribe because it is the only way that we can strengthen this tie. I bring out all these topics and preview and do the analysis. You watch and like. That is the business we do on social media. Until then, I wish you a very good